So you got a FrameMeister, or an OSSC, good times, but hold up, it's really just half the battle. Composite cables won't get you very far. And while S-Video is a great first step, you're going to need the best cables to get the best out of your upscalers and line doublers. You need RGB, and we may have found the best ones. But first, the basics. This 21-pin analog cable system comes in two flavors: the Japanese JP21 and European SCART. While both look the same, they are wired differently and will require adapters depending on the type used in various devices. The FrameMeister can accept a JP21 or SCART mini DIN adapter, while the OSSC accepts SCART, which may require a more robust converter. In our case, we chose to go with SCART across all of our scalers and doublers. We've used a few different types of cables in the past, from cheap-ass generic ones on eBay to others from Retro Access, but the best cables we've used by far have to be the amazing Pack-a-Punch cables from retrogamingcables.co.uk. If you've seen our feature in the Dreamcast STG Chronicle, or if you've checked out our live streams on twitch.tv, you know what kind of quality can be had out of these cables. Retro Gaming Cables makes cabling for pretty much any system you can think of, with some great specialized ones as well. Other SCART cables contain thin wires and messy internal construction, but Retro Gaming Cables combines excellent individually shielded cable components with PCB construction in their SCART heads for what could be the best SCART cables made today. Let's take a closer look. Okay, and we're going to get going here with FX Unit Yuki on the Sega Genesis. This particular copy is running on a Genesis 1. As you'll see here, the Mega Drive 1 cables that Retro Gaming Cables have created are quite a bit different, as it does have a 3.5mm jack attached. And that's how the Genesis 1 derives its sound through RGB. This is all going through the FrameMeister for now. There are other solutions that we do need to go through the OSSC, but for now it's all FrameMeister all the time. As you can see here, the image is nice and clear. It's well replicated through these cables. And one thing that's particularly good about these cables is that image noise, or the noise that's associated, especially with bright pictures, does not come through. But as far as the game's picture and sound goes, this is pretty good. And I really wanted to showcase this game in particular because we did get it from pixelheart.eu, and it is a pain in the butt to get working. Like, it takes quite a bit of time to get it to load for some reason or another. I've tried many different methods, and well, the only way that I can seem to get it to go is by warming up the system with the cartridge in there, letting it sit for like a half an hour, and then, you know, fiddling with the power switch. So the game itself is a little on the finicky side, but like once you get it going, as you can see here, it plays rather well. And these Pack-a-Punch cables do a really good job of presenting the game in a way that there's not a lot of excess noise from bright images, and it looks really good as you go through it. So continuing on, we're playing Cotton 100% for the Super Famicom. This particular cable that we're using is Retro Gaming Cables Universal Nintendo cable. It'll support anything that uses the same port as the Super NES and Super Famicom. That does include the Nintendo 64, as long as it's got an RGB mod. And the PAL version of the GameCube also supports SCART, and so this would work for that as well. Once again, the picture quality is really good here. There are some limitations with the Super NES hardware itself, though. I do not have a one-chip Super NES, so as you can see, the picture is a little blurred out on the right edge of most of the imagery here, but still on the whole, it looks really good. And again, the image noise is something that's not present here as well. So insofar as the game imagery and sound, you're going to get a really good quality out of the Super Famicom and Super NES using these particular cables. And as we all know, some of our favorite games here at Studio Mudprints are on the Super NES, such as UN Squadron. So if you want to get the best out of UN Squadron in terms of imagery and sound, this is definitely a good way to go. Let's continue on with Nexer Special for the PC Engine. Now, the PC Engine is near and dear to our hearts for the sheer amount of shoot-'em-ups that are available on it, but getting RGB picture out of this system is a little trickier than you might expect. It is going to require either mods or add-ons in order to get the job done, but the good thing about these solutions is that they use the same 9-pin DIN as the Genesis 2. So what we're using right here is the Mega Drive 2 cable from Retro Gaming Cables, and as you can see, it's working really well. We're also using the Super SD System 3, which in our review, we noticed a lot of noise on Bright Pictures, but the Pack-a-Punch cables do a really good job of mitigating this noise, and we really don't notice it at all at this point. Now, we've been using plenty of different RGB cables for our PC Engine needs. We gotta say, though, that the Pack-a-Punch cables are far and away the best ones we've seen yet, so the craftsmanship behind these cables is definitely evident with the amount of noise that is mitigated on Bright Pictures. It's really good stuff. The Sega Saturn is another system that Retro Gaming Cable supplied cables to us for, and when it comes to simple truths, the Sega Saturn is a system that all shmup players need. One weird thing that we've noticed with the FrameMeister in specific, though, is that all our RGB cables, even these ones here, seem to output some weird color banding. It's not especially noticeable since the scroll is going in line with the color bands right now, but if this were a side-scrolling game, or if we were playing this in Tate mode, you would definitely notice the bands on certain color fields. We're pretty sure it has to do with the FrameMeister, but this particular cable doesn't interface well with the OSSC. This could also be, though, that the Sega Saturn requires very specific cables in order to work. In this case, we had to have them for NTSC specifically, where PAL might be quite a bit different under the hood. Without testing it, though, there's not much more that I can say on the matter. However, what's here still looks really good. As always, the picture is crisp, there's very little image noise, and the sound comes through loud and clear. The original PlayStation is also another system that has a healthy amount of shoot-'em-ups on it, so having an RGB connection is critical if you want to get the most out of your system. Retro Gaming Cable supplied this cable to us, and like most of the ones that we've taken a look at so far, this one is also C-Sync. Unlike the Saturn cable as well, this particular cable plays nicely with the OSSC, which is a plus. Nice. Okay, sure. It's so lame. All right, so one of the most intriguing things on Retro Gaming Cable's site is the Atari Jaguar. The Atari Jaguar RGB cable. And holy crap, it works. Who even knew? Look at this. What? Yes. Look at that. All right. So this is riding on the Atari Jaguar. As you can see, it doesn't run especially well because, you know, it's the Jaguar. But like, it's RGB-able. It's RGB-able. That's as much as I can say. It doesn't look terrible. Just all that wasted space on the side of the screen, sure, but I mean, it's not awful. Somehow it's still better than the Super Nintendo version, that's for sure. Boof. How about that? It's clear. It's definitely clear. And I mean, once again, you know, audio is nice and crisp as well. I guess there's only one question that begs to be answered. Can it make Trevor McFur better? No. No, it doesn't. So Neo Geo CD games are something that we've really wanted to get a handle on early on in the game, but unfortunately things kind of got out of control with the prices of some of the games on here. So stuff like Ironclad is completely out of the picture at this point. But the RGB out on this system is really good, so anybody that's looking to get into Neo Geo CD has a way to get the best picture out of the system with minimal fuss. What's interesting about the cables here, though, is that there's a pair of RCA cables that split off from the main output. That all gets fed into the SCART end of the cable, and the result is a really clear picture with great sound. With a lot of Neo Geo games, obviously the visuals are the name of the game, so basically having the ability to see every pixel of detail is an important thing, especially on modern displays. And you just gotta love the lavish explosions in this game. Oh, so good. Alright, we've talked at length about Bangai-O. It's probably my favorite Dreamcast game, to be honest. But there is no better way to play this game, I promise, than with this cable right here. This is the Retro Gaming Cables RGB 480p cable. We call it the God cable for very good reason. As you can see here, this is an unmodded system, but through the magic of this cable, it gets such a clear signal out of the Dreamcast, be it 480p or 240p. It's really, really scalable. It's good stuff. Grab an OSSC or a FrameMeister and witness the clarity behind this cable. It's just so good. It's so good. It's the best. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Now this is a specialized cable that Retro Gaming Cables makes for the original Xbox, and it isn't actually a SCART cable, even though it has the same shape. You won't be able to use this in anything but an OSSC, and basically there's a specialized button on the remote here that actually says YPBPR, but it's going through the RGB port, and that's what this is doing. It's basically doing component through the SCART. So it's not quite the same, but it has pretty good results, as you can tell. We're going to be playing some Panzer Dragoon Orta here. It looks pretty good, but obviously it's not as high a resolution as one might expect out of the OSSC, or in fact the Xbox itself. But yeah, I mean, the picture is definitely there. What's interesting though, like, you have to set it to this specialized input, otherwise weird stuff happens. Like if I was to put it through regular RGB, it would turn to green. So that's the kind of thing that would happen here. It does look pretty good though. It makes me wonder what this would look like on the One X though. I hear it's pretty good in 4K. It's very subtle control of the dragon in this too. This thing always takes such a long time to kill too. So when we have the settings like this though, it really sort of buggers up the picture, as you'll soon see here. Looks fine for now, but then this happens. Yeah, sweet. So dumb. I don't get that. Yeah. So I don't know. That happens. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. It works. It's functional, right? On, you know, on a basic level. Oh, well. I'll have to try to finagle this a little more, but until such a time, standard resolution only, I guess. There are even more cables available for other systems as well, and some will work for modified systems so long as the port is the same. Mods such as the PC Engine and Turbo Duo systems using the Genesis 2 9-pin DIN, or the Nintendo 64, which can use the Universal Nintendo cable, allow for some cables to double or even triple up with regards to system support. All in all, these cables are just amazing and should be part of every retro gamer's AV arsenal. You can get your own at retrogamingcables.co.uk using the link below to support Studio Mudprints.